So all of these effects can either be placed in line with the signal or in an effects loop. The rule of thumb is that if you want just a touch of effect, a little dab of effects, then using an effects loop would be the best way to route. If you want to completely take control of the entire signal, like a compressor or auto-tune, for example, then the insert method would be the best. Also, the effect loop gives you more bang for the buck because you can use that one effect across many channels by using an aux send and return. This really goes to your budget, as in that real world example of my $2,000 reverb I told you about. Ain't no way I'm going to use that on just one track, right? I want to put that across an effects loop that so I can use it in varying amounts across all of my tracks. Now, this is much less of a concern for you guys and gals who use software solutions, as your effects are virtual. You can just drag and drop unlimited instances of your effects across. So you might want to just add one reverb in line with a single track. You can always adjust the blend of dry to reverb signal on that mix knob right there. In fact, that's probably one good reason to go over to software recording. For a few $100, you are completely done with buying effects. Everything is built in and you have an unlimited effects for that just that one price. Now, in the hardware world, most multi-tracks have built-in effects, and they normally have, say, a loop effect or two, most commonly being, say, reverb and delay. Then they might have an insert effect that you can place in line with your signal, which ties perfectly into a discussion of whether you want to record with effects or not. We commonly say it this way: do you want to print your effects or not? Now, here are some pros of printing effects. If you have one insert effect, like a lot of BR recorders by Boss, then while it's only one effect, you can use it in many different times as you record. If your first track is, say, guitar, then you can set it to distortion and record that distorted guitar onto track one. Now that effect has basically been recorded or printed, there's nothing to stop you from switching that effects to a chorus and putting it on your bass guitar as you record that on the track number 2. Then maybe a compressor as you record vocals on the track 3, and then you can set it for something else and record that on the track 4. Now, as you're recording or printing that on each track, you have the benefit of using that insert effect as many times as you want with as many different types of presets as you want. But what is the possible downside? Absolutely, those effects are married to that track. Once you record with it, you can't undistort the guitar. It's on there for good. If you have unlimited effects, then I would record everything dry and just add effects at mixdown. I mean, does that make sense? But for many of us, we don't have unlimited effects, so we tend to use insert effects and print their effect onto our track. Certainly the loop effect can be added and taken away easily, as they are never recorded, just added in varying amounts by using the aux sends. So here are the points to remember in terms of effects. Effects are our spices, and just like in cooking, there are spices you use all the time and others that are really only used occasionally for a specific dish. Our salt and pepper spices, in terms of effects, are the time-based effects, the delay and reverb, and they're used on most projects. Sometimes for special effects, but mostly just to place your sound element into a space or an environment. We have our dynamic effects that can be used creatively, but really for the most part they're used to control the dynamics of a signal so that we can easily position them in a mix. We have noise gates that are great for cleaning up the sound if you have maybe some noise on a signal or any other background sounds that you really want to get rid of. What else do we have? We looked at the different types of EQ and how to use them creatively. Modulation effects that can change the sound of a track in a wave-like way using an LFO. Also pitch shifters to either create artificial harmonies or widen out the sound with a very slight detune. Auto-tune is the way to automatically tune a pitchy singer or use for creative purposes like Cher and Will Ferrell. You don't often hear those in the same sentence, right? And finally, we learned whether to print or not to print, and it's always a better not to print. If you had unlimited effects, you'll always have the original sound that you can change up with effects, but we've realized that practically we need to pretty often given the limits of some of our effects setups, we may need to print some of these guys. And last but not least, we learnt what an effect loop is and insert routing, and why we really need both. If you want to control the whole signal, the insert method would be the best. But if you just want a dab or a touch of effects shared over a whole bunch of different tracks, then an effects loop using an aux send and return is the way to go.